What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here again for you for another Tottenham post-mortem as we've drawn 3-3 at St Mary's against bottom of the league Southampton, worst home form in the league Southampton, and a Southampton team that have only scored 11 goals at home all season. And we let them score 3 goals yesterday at St Mary's.
So a third of their total now.
Pretty much, yeah. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And obviously me and Sim were there yesterday. And it's just getting really hard to go to these away games and just witness the same thing over and over and over again. What we're going to do today is we're going to go through the game, and then we are going to look at Conte's fiery post-match press conference and see what we can take away from that as well. But without further ado, let's get into the match review from yesterday. And you know what? It started like a disastrous game. I mean, players going down, Richarlison going off after 4 minutes. He was in tears. Apparently, we didn't see it because we weren't there early enough, but apparently he pulled up in the warm-up as well. And the fitness staff did some stretches with him and got him running up and down the length of the pitch, and he wanted to play, so he started the game, and probably was the wrong decision because he pulled up after 4 minutes, and we don't know how long he's going to be out for. But Kulusevski came on, and I actually thought it was quite a good display from Kulusevski yesterday. A few minutes after that, Bella Kotchap goes down and Salisu comes on.
They were dropping like flies at one point.
Dropping like flies yesterday, and within, I think it was in like what, first 10 minutes of the game, 2 substitutes, one apiece already, and it just started. What was that start to the game? I've never seen anything like it, really.
Well, I think it was 4 subs in total in the first half,
Yeah.
2 each. Davis also went off for us, and Bednarek went off for Southampton. But I actually think, when you think about it, for us, Perisic comes on, Kulusevski comes on, so like I don't think it hurt us as much as it will hurt a team like Southampton.
Their 2 starting centre-backs go off in the first half.
And they're playing Maitland-Niles at centre-back for the whole game. So we really should have made more use of that situation. To be fair, Kane did dominate him for his goal, and Maitland-Niles did make a bit of a mistake for the third goal as well, with his header out to Perisic. So you could argue we did take advantage of it, but we didn't take full advantage of it, obviously, because we didn't take the 3 points. But that first half, it was a classic Tottenham first half. We were kind of... we had a few openings with Porro on the right-hand side. He had a few chances before he scored a goal late in the first half. But it was kind of one of those classic ones where we weren't really conceding anything. We weren't really creating anything. We threatened to open them up a couple of times without making any serious opportunities. As I said, Porro had a couple of efforts with his left foot over the bar where he could have done better. He was looking like our most likely avenue for a goal.
There was one with Dyer as well, with that great Kulusevski cross.
Dyer had a header from a short corner. That was a decent chance, but it wasn't like, we opened them up. It was just, swinging in across and trying to head it in. So it was kind of a very dull first half. We did break the deadlock. Again, good team movement. Someone with a brilliant ball into Porro. He absolutely smashes it in off the crossbar in at the near post. It was a brilliant finish from Pedro Porro. So we put ourselves in a good position. I wouldn't say we deserved to be 1-0 up, although I did think we were slightly the better team. But I didn't think we
didn't let Southampton have a shot on our goal in that first half.
Yeah, if you just bring on the stats, I can just bring up the first half. It was first half, we had 9 shots, they had 8, but they had no shots on target. XG 1.37 to 0.7 in our favour. So we were probably slightly the better team.
I felt like when you're comparing the first half to the second half, I thought there was a period in the second half which was probably our best period of the game. But I think when you're taking a 45 minutes versus another 45 minutes, I thought we looked more comfortable and more assured in that first half.
Yeah, I mean, we held them at bay more in the first half. I think Southampton were getting more joy on the ball in the second half for sure, even though we scored 2 goals as well. Southampton they didn't really threaten us in that first half, but the second half, literally within a minute, it all changed.
Yeah,
they got in behind, and and they scored the. From their point of view, obviously, it was a quick team transition in behind to Walcott. He squares it to Adams. But from Spurs' point of view, that ball should never be getting in between Longley and Perisic.
I don't understand how it is getting in between those two. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And by the way, Walcott, he had our defence on toast at times yesterday. He really did. And it's not good enough to let a player like Walcott do that to you. It really isn't. But Lavia, brilliant ball. Long lane, Perisic could not do anything about it, and then Adams gets the run on our defence, and and he levels it up straight from the kickoff, pretty much. And then after that, I mean, Southampton did put us under a bit of pressure after that. But after that kind of tiny bit of pressure, I thought we had our best moment in the game, best period of the game. And we really started to dominate them a bit, started to create chances. Kulu put that brilliant cross in from that short corner from Sonny, and Kane buries it like probably what Dyer should have done in the first half. And we're really starting to create chances. We go 2-1 up, and you're thinking, all right, cool. We're really in the ascendancy now, and we're going to take this game and win this game. And we did. 10 minutes later, another cross from Kulusevski. Romero heads it back to Ivan Perisic, and Perisic with the volley into the ground, and a really nice finish. And Perisic gets his first goal as well for Spurs. And then we go 3-1 up with 15 minutes to go or something like that.
And you really did think that was game, set, and match at that point, because Southampton, after equalising, Southampton offered very little. Spurs, to be fair, I thought we were controlling the game, dominating. I thought we were really good in the transitions. Kane had that chance as well, didn't he, on the breakaway, which he should have slipped in. Kulusevski, he went for goal. He went for goal, and I think that was at 1-1 actually. But he went for goal. If you look at the momentum bar, just bring on the phone for a sec. You can see in that second half, Southampton had that little bit of spell at the beginning, and it was literally all Tottenham up until we score our third. We score our third here, and then once we score our third, it was like we thought the game was won. We kind of sat deep, just trying to manage the game, thinking the game was we've sealed the 3 points. And to be honest, we'd say what you like about that approach, but the game should be won at 3-1. You know what I mean? You should never be allowing
that stage of the game.
You should never be allowing in the last 15 minutes for Southampton to be able to create chances like that against you. And even if you are sitting back, you should have the quality defensively to see out that game and to manage that game if you got anything about you. But we didn't.
But it's the same thing as always. It's the same thing as always. We look good in the first half against Wolves. Wolves make changes and completely dominate us after that. What happens here? We go 3-1 up. Southampton make a triple change. Mara for Adams.
They made the change at 2-1.
Huh?
They made the change at 2-1.
At 2-1?
Yeah.
No, they made it at 3-1.
They made it. I can see here. They made it in the 70th minute.
All right. Either way, we score, and then straight away after we score the dominance, Southampton come and show their dominance with the changes making a big difference. Alcaraz for Armstrong, Sulemana for Elanusi. I mean, Sulemana, there were times where he was just walking through our whole midfield and our whole back line. It was absolutely ridiculous. And Southampton get back in the game. We'd let them get back into the game, and it's not good enough. It's nowhere near good enough. And for that goal, that 3-2 goal, what the hell is happening there? Seriously, what the hell is happening? Ward-Prowse crossing the ball. I thought Porro could have got tighter to Ward-Prowse there. Mara wins the header over Skip and Perisic. How's he winning the header there? And Walcott is just completely free in the box.
If you look what happens when Mara wins the header, Kane and Dyer. Walcott. I think it was Dyer had Walcott, and what happened is when Mara wins that header, Dyer and Kane both, instead of sticking one of them going Walcott and one of them staying on the line, they both go to the line. And Walcott peels away from them, and it's just shocking defending. So they both go onto the line in the same post. So they're both on one post on the line. If you're going to do that, at least one of them go to each post so he gets clear off the line. They both go to one post. So you've got Forster, Dyer and Kane all on one side of the goal. Walcott's completely free, and he just buries it into the other corner where no one is, basically. Yeah. It was just an absolute shambles from everyone. We were very deep. We weren't contesting the duels. We weren't being aggressive, and then also the defensive quality also wasn't there. So it all just led to an absolute shit show of a goal, to be honest. But to be fair, look, and I've said this and I stand by it. And I think that even if you look at the momentum bar, I think it shows it as well. But I think at 3-2 they scored in the 77th minute. We then make at this point they are on top of us. You can see the momentum bar; they're very much top of us. But on 86 minutes, we make a couple changes, And I actually did think it stemmed the tide. I think it clogged up the areas we needed it to clog up. I think Southampton actually looked a lot less threatening after we made those changes at 3-2. And all of a sudden, the chances dried up for them. They were actually finding all these openings in that little period before we made that change. Sulemana was getting in all sorts of spaces. But then Sarr and Emerson did come on, and we did tighten up. But the problem was we tightened up to see out the game. And then that dodgy penalty.
What I don't understand is all the fans laying into Antonio for those changes, because you could definitely see the game was slipping away from us before those changes were made. And Southampton were all over us. They were creating chances.
Yeah, Mara had that chance.
Was really dangerous. Mara has that chance. And
Maitland-Niles forced to save out of Forster as well.
Exactly. You can really see Fraser Forster made some really good saves in that period of the game. And you can really see the game was slipping away from us. And Conte makes those changes, which I called for, by the way. Ryan was standing next to us, and I said to him, we got to take off Sarr for Kulu and Emerson for Porro. Because first of all, Porro, as much as how good he was in that first half, he was kind of weaning out of the game at that point. He was. The second half, he was weaning out the game. And I thought it was a good changes from Conte, albeit it did steady the ship, as you say, but it's not like it was Southampton's amazing play and our kind of tactical flaws that kind of let Southampton get that third goal. It was a terrible refereeing decision. That's what gave them that goal. I mean, Pape Matar Sarr tries to hit the ball away from Maitland-Niles. Maitland-Niles wins the ball first. But Sarr hardly even touches him, if touches him at all. It's not a penalty. I don't understand how they point to the spot and then VAR looks at it again and still gives the penalty. It makes no sense in my mind whatsoever.
They got very lucky, really lucky, because if you look at the replay, the angle of where Sarr supposedly makes contact with Maitland-Niles, there's a player covering that exact moment when the contact is made, so they can't truly say whether they made no contact because there's a player blocking the view on the angle, and on the side angle it's also very hard to tell if he actually makes contact. From my point of view, it doesn't look like he makes any contact. I don't really see anything, but because VAR can't 100% say for certain, they had to stick with the on-field decision, and I think they got away with one a bit because I think it was a soft penalty, soft as shit penalty in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I don't think he makes any contact, but I think. That period, yeah. So once we scored our third goal, there was a 10-minute period where Southampton were really on top of us, and you can maybe blame Tottenham for sitting too deep on that occasion, but people pointing to the substitutions as the problem, in my opinion, are completely misreading the game, because I think once we made those subs, we actually did tighten up quite a lot, and Southampton didn't look like they were going to score again up until they got a penalty, and then out of nothing, let's be honest, it was a penalty out of pretty much nothing, and it probably shouldn't have been a penalty, and so they did get a bit of luck, but you could as well. You can't take away that they did drag themselves back in the game, and we did also sit deep for that period before the substitutions, and that's ultimately what got them back in the game. That little period. Look, it's really frustrating. We only have ourselves to blame.
Absolutely, we only have ourselves to blame. That game was there for us. It was in the palm of our hand. We had 3 points, and we just chucked it away like it was nothing, like always. But in terms of the Spurs changes that potentially influenced the game, we spoke about the ones later on in the game where me and you both, I think, in agreement saying it didn't really influence the game in a negative way. The changes at the beginning, I mean, the ones that we were forced into. First of all, Kulusevski for Richarlison. I thought Kulusevski came on and actually played really well.
Yeah.
He had the beating of his man quite a few times. I think all of our goals came from Kulusevski, had something to do with all of our goals. Mm-hmm. The one for Perisic for Davis was the one for me. I thought a lot of their opportunities come down Perisic's side. Their first goal, Perisic and Longley, one of them needs to be getting to that. Their second goal, I thought Perisic was beaten way too easily in the air at the back post. And the third goal was the penalty. But Perisic, I mean, it's this consistent thing with Perisic now. He's just not good enough defensively, albeit well done to him. Got his first goal, really nice finish, and credit to him for that. But his defensive work on the day is just not good enough, is it?
No. I to be honest, at 3-1, I thought he was having a good game. In all honesty, I thought he was quite a good attacking threat down the left-hand side. I thought he got a really nice finish for the goal. I thought he was providing some good deliveries from that side as well. And I thought okay, he's actually come on and had a pretty positive impact. But I think the second goal, Mara obviously beats him to it. He's quite a tall striker, Mara. He outmuscles him. Yeah, you could probably say he's a bit weak in that instance, but defensively, we should have dealt with that situation so many other times. I wouldn't just put it down to Perisic, although he definitely takes his share of the blame. The first goal, I think he should never let Walcott get the run on him like that. 100%. Walcott found it way too easy to get in behind. Third goal, I don't think he's involved too much in it, but down that left-hand side, I do think in general play, I think actually they got more opportunities on down the other side than they did down his side, in all honesty. I think that was the area that they, like, for example, Mara's chance, that was more down Porro's side than it was down Perisic. But for the goals, for sure, he could have done better with. I just thought it was unfortunate that he was actually having a good game, and then all that good work gets undone. But everyone's focusing on Perisic. I think we're focusing on him because he's in bad form, and one of the goals came down his side. But I don't think he was actually that bad yesterday, in my opinion. Like, I do think he's been in bad form. I get granted, and I do think for one of the goals he could have definitely done a lot better. But I wouldn't overly blame him for what happened yesterday, in my opinion.
Look, I think he had his hand in two of the goals that we conceded. So I think that he deserves the criticism that's coming his way, in my opinion. I think, look, he was okay. I don't think he was anything great at 3-1. I know maybe you said he was having a good
don't think it was like the
performance.
mistakes, like, for example, like he did against City, where he literally just gave it to players that are down the line, you know what I mean? And it was like clearly his fault. I think he was part of a collective to blame. Against City, he was literally making individual errors, which cost us goals. I thought yesterday he was part of a collective defence, and he definitely didn't cover himself in any glory. But I wouldn't like zoom in on him and just say he's the one at fault for these goals. You know what I mean? I think it's a bit harsh.
I'd agree with that to a certain extent, but I think that when you're part of it, this part of the central thing that kind of we're conceding 2 goals, and you literally should have been doing better in 2 of those big actions that are going to the goal. Yes, other defenders are definitely in there with him, no doubt about it. But at the moment, we are talking about Perisic, so I think that you've got to give him his criticism where it's due, and
we give him enough. Trust me, that's what I'm saying.
He's due it more today. He's due it more today for yesterday. So I don't think his attacking threat was that good anyway at 3-1. I thought he was getting in all right spaces. I thought his crossing was poor again. I don't know. I'm just done. I'm fed up of Perisic, to be honest. I really am.
No, and he's not in good form. He's not playing well. And he has to accept that. And I also think that
big problem when Ben Davies comes in, and a player that fans would have taken or leaving him going for the past however many years it's been, and he's come in and being our kind of saviour at left wing back when we've got Perisic here. It's just a joke, man.
But I think we misdiagnosed the problem. Perisic has never been a good defensive wing back. That's never been his forte. Obviously, you can't accept things like the Man City game when he's literally like being a proper liability. But when you have someone like Perisic, the point of him is that you balance out his defensive capabilities with his attacking capabilities. And when he was at Inter Milan, you could do that because when he gets forward, he's obviously gets you good numbers going forward. And then he's going to leave you a bit exposed defensively. But if you have the defense to cope with that, then it's worth it. But we don't have the defence to cope with it. That's our problem. So as much as we want to zoom in on Perisic, the bigger problem, in my opinion, is that we don't have the defence to cope with his defensive capabilities. Not that he has no defensive capabilities. You understand?
I get that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I completely agree with that. But I've also got grievances with him going forward recently since the World Cup. I mean, I don't think he's doing anywhere near enough from an attacking perspective where you're saying we're in agreement that where his fortes lie. I think his crossing has gone way off the boil. I think he's too weak in terms of taking on his man and stuff like that. So he's not been good enough in every aspect of the game, not just this defensive role.
I agree with that. He's been in bad form. I completely agree with it. Really bad form. I personally think yesterday he came on and did quite a good job.
He did all right.
I think he scored a goal, and I thought he was actually quite decent. But that was my opinion. But obviously, when we don't win the game and he doesn't cover himself in any glory for two of the goals, we're going to obviously talk about it again. But yeah, look, I think we can move on from Perisic now.
Yeah, look, we've spoken about the bad. Let's speak about the good in Pedro Porro, because I thought he was absolutely brilliant, especially in that first half yesterday. All our good work was coming through him. Like you said before, he had 2 chances with his left peg, blazed it over the bar, didn't make any mistake with that third one where Sonny played a lovely ball through to him, didn't he? And Pedro Porro just slammed that in the roof of the net. And again, like I said last week, Pedro Porro seems to be growing with confidence, growing with ability every single game in the Premier League now.
Yeah, and obviously he's getting more confident to have more shots. He's getting in more of those positions as well. I mean, the 3 opportunities he had in that first half, it's like I had never seen Emerson in those positions ever. It's just he doesn't get there. Porro is
Show
like...
his heat map.
Show his heat map. There you go.
And there you go.
So look how offensive he is. So the biggest spot is like really far forward. You can see that.
Whereas Emerson's biggest spot will be like by the centre circle, basically.
Exactly. And it'll be more tucked inside. But that's what Porro does. He allows us to get really far wide. He attacks that space at the back post. And especially when the ball's on the far side, he doesn't allow what he does is he causes the back line big problems, because if he gets into that area consistently, because he has pace as well, he gets into that area, he's so hard to track because they're looking at Richarlison, they're looking at Kane, they're looking at Son, even maybe one of the midfielders are getting forward. And then all of a sudden, like if you're a fullback, what do? Do you stick out wide with Porro? Or do you track Richarlison's run in the middle? You have to track Richarlison. And 9 times out of 10 or 8 times out of 10, unless he's getting tracked. Although, imagine a winger tracking him every time into the penalty area. It's not going to happen. The winger isn't going to track him every single time into a penalty area. So more often than not, he is going to be free, unless you have a super hard-working winger who's going to be penned back. So he found those opportunities time and time again. Unfortunately for him, the first 2 he blazed over the bar. But in fact, it wasn't also just those opportunities. He was playing some really nice passes into Son in behind, wasn't he, early on? And Son had a couple of openings where if his touch was better, he could have had a few other chances. But in terms of him attacking-wise, the first 2 chances he blazed over the bar was left foot, and then he didn't need a third time of asking. What a finish that was. Imagine Emerson pulling off that kind of finish, or Doherty pulling up. It just wouldn't happen. Wouldn't get close to it. And it showed the confidence, showed his quality as well, with that ability to absolutely smash it off the crossbar. And I thought first half especially, he was our best player for sure. He was swinging really dangerous crosses as well from the right hand side. I think it's much better when we have a wing back who rather than people praising us for having Emerson who tucks his side, I'd much rather have someone like Porro who hugs the touchline and stretches the play as much as possible. Absolutely. And Porro's really growing with every game, and he's really putting those early performances behind him now. And I'm so happy for him, because he had a struggling start, but he's really showing exactly what we want for a wing back, isn't he?
Absolutely, absolutely spot on, and I'm loving him at this very moment in time. And I always said after that Leicester game, I felt it was just like a welcome to the Premier League kind of thing, and he's going to grow on it and learn from it, and that's exactly what he's doing. Romero yesterday, what did you make out of him? I thought it wasn't such a great display from Romero yesterday. Wasn't at his aggressive best. I thought maybe one of the goals he could have got tighter to his man. I think it was the first goal for Southampton. I mean, what did you make out of Romero yesterday?
Yeah, I didn't think he was particularly impressive. I thought he did look a bit sluggish throughout. I think, look, when we were on top, to be honest, like for large periods, as much as there were periods when Southampton were on top of us, like after we scored, but I thought, like at the point when it was 3-1 to Spurs, like throughout most of the game, the defence actually didn't have that much to do. I know we conceded, but I'm watching the match of the day, and I thought Forster had a brilliant game, right? And that was my memory. But then I watched match of the day, and when at 3-1. Mara has that chance, and Forster saves it. And the match of the day commentator says, "Well, Forster hasn't had too much to do today, but he's come out and made that save." And I realised Forster did have a great game because I thought Fallis just scored there. Forster did have a good game because for those last 50 minutes he was really busy. But actually at 3-1, he wasn't very busy there. He hadn't done too much. That's because the game was pretty comfortable for Tottenham at 3-1. So if I'm judging his performance, I think for the first 75 minutes he was fine. I didn't think there were too many issues, but in those last 15 minutes, once we were under pressure, he did crumble. He did crumble, and I thought that chance for Mara that I was talking about, he was really poor for that chance. He could have done a lot better. Could have got a lot tighter to Mara. And I think, look. Again, I think it was more of a collective thing than a personal thing for him, but I didn't think he was very good in those last 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I thought Dyer was atrocious.
Yeah, Dyer was atrocious. I mean, at one point, what was he doing? Marking Kane on the line or something?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, for the goal. That's exactly what he was doing.
What is that? How this guy is our starting central centre-back, and he's marking our striker on the post. What is that all about?
This is it. This is the problem with our defense. When you put it under pressure, it's when things are going well, they seem to be okay, and they can get yourself in a situation where you're 3-1 up against Southampton away. Because we know we have good quality, but when push comes to shove, when the other team ups their intensity and really puts us under pressure, especially away from home, we fold. We don't have that mentality. We don't have the defenders when push comes to shove who are going to grind out the result and we're going to really batten down the hatches.
Absolutely.
You know, and you see, for example, I remember. Obviously, you can pick a number of games, but you remember when we played Juventus in the Champions League back in 2018, where it's the game is 2-1 to Juventus, that we need a goal. We literally chucked the kitchen sink at them. We put them under so much pressure. I remember that game. We hit the post, it rolls across the line, all the stuff, but by hook or by crook, they batten down hatches, and they're saying no more goals are getting conceded in this game. Yeah. And they have the quality to do that. But when you ask that of our defenders, they just can't. Yeah. They've proven it time and time again. They can't hold it.
You are comparing Jan and Toby to Dyer and Longley. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm comparing. That's the levels we should be comparing them to.
I agree.
That's where we should be going up to. And Dyer, Longley. I mean, look, we have to put Romero in there because Romero has been part of this defense. I personally think more often than not he's let down by a lot of people around him. But look, Romero as well. He's in that conversation. They just haven't been good enough this season, and every single time where people, the opposition, get aggressive with them and they up their intensity, they fold. And it happens time after time. They either fold, or they lose their concentration, and it happens so often. And it's happened under every manager. Ever since Pete Pochettino, it's happened every single time. This team have a massive mentality problem, and obviously we'll get into Conte's comments later on, but it feeds into what he's been saying a lot about the culture of a lot of these players. They don't have it in them to compete at this very high, at this level to where we want to go. And as long as we persist with these people have this mentality, we're never going to go anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. I mean, I can't agree more, to be honest. And it's a miracle what Conte has been doing since he's got here, getting this team in the top 4 in Champions League spots with the likes of Dyer and co at the back. It really is. And if anyone thinks that we can go out, for everyone complaining about the style of football and all this kind of stuff, it's so boring to go watch Tottenham, the style of football is terrible. Do you really think that if we play a more expansive game, we're not going to be cut open time and time again, and we're not going to be losing games by big amounts? Because we will be. We will be. If we have this defence and this team right now, if we play more expansive football, high pressing game, and all that kind of stuff that fans want to see, we will be getting battered week in, week out. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I think that Conte is working with what he has a lot of the time. Obviously, you have to always have a threat, and I think we do by and large. We in the transition, and we do pick our moment. First half, Porro was getting really far forward, and we were flying forward a lot of the time. But we got to pick our moments because we can't do it for 90 minutes. The squad don't have the physicality to do it. They don't have the quality or the mentality to make sure that they're not conceding easy chances. So unfortunately, a lot of the time we are going to have to be very compact. We are going to have to be making sure we're leaving little spaces in between the lines, and everyone's very close together and everyone's helping each other, because if we don't do that, these players just don't have the ability to be in one-on-one situations and come out on top. They don't have the ability to make sure that they're not having players run off them and keeping their concentration. That's why we need to be so compact and so organised and everyone fighting for each other, because when we don't do that, then we have problems. So look, it's all well and good. For example, you look at Liverpool, maybe not now, but Liverpool in their prime, like, they don't need to do that because they know if Trent is caught upfield, Van Dijk can deal with it. You know what I mean? If Robinson's caught upfield, you know, they got centre backs who can deal with that situation. Like if there's a player, look at Arsenal, they know they can chuck all their players forward because if Saliba's isolated one-on-one, or if they get in behind, they have the defenders with pace who can deal with those situations. And all right, they might get caught out once or twice, but 9 times out of 10 they'll be able to deal with it. Yeah. We just don't. We don't. If in those situations, if Dyer is caught one-on-one, why do you think you never see Dyer in one-on-one situations? Because we can't have it. We can't allow him to be in one-on-one situations, because if he ever is, then
we see it. We see it. And on the odd occasion when he is, he always gets
every
burned.
time. He never makes the tackle. I've never seen him make a tackle in a one-on-one situation.
Back off, Dyer. Back off, back off, back off, back off.
Why do you think that is? And people can blame Conte all he wants about style of play, but this is the reality of what he has to deal with for the defence. Yeah. And you could argue it hasn't worked because we keep leaking goals anyway. And that's a fair criticism. That is, and you can chuck that at him. But at the end of the day, we have the defence that we have, and I don't see how we can, especially against really good opposition anyway, but even against lesser opposition, go gung ho, completely throw caution to the wind and expect that this defence is going to hold out, because it won't.
Exactly. And that is the state of affairs at Tottenham at the moment. Just before we move on to the Conte stuff, let's talk about Harry Kane yesterday. I thought he was one of our better players yesterday, but he frustrated me massively yesterday. There were so many times. One of them really sticks to mind, but there were more than that. There was 2 or 3 times this happened where he was in such a good position. He had runners either side of him, and he takes a shot, whether it gets blocked or goes over the bar or goes wide or whatever. But that really frustrated me yesterday. And there was one really notable one. He had Kulusevski making a really nice run on the outside. He had Sonny on the left of him, and he takes a shot and it goes wide. I mean, this happened time and time again. And do you think that plays into what Conte was saying about selfish players? I know you don't want to put Kane in that category, because Kane has been saving us time and time again throughout this whole season and throughout since he's come here. But, I mean, those were factors of being selfish.
I don't think that's what he was talking about when he was saying selfish. He might have been. I actually think he probably wants Kane to be a bit selfish, to be honest. I don't think that's what he's talking about. I think he's talking about everyone fighting for each other and in the defensive side of the game. When you're 3-1 up, you have to make sacrifices for the team. And I think he was talking about people being selfish, maybe not putting their role in, making sure that we see out the game and see out the result, and just and I think in that sense, because on those missed chances you talk about, the game was 1-1 at those points. He ended up scoring to make it 2-1, then we made it 3-1. So I don't think those selfish moments impacted the result too much. I don't think that's what he was alluding to. Granted, I do think he was selfish in those instances. There was one in the first half where he cut inside and shot when definitely a pass was a better option. Second half, I have a bit more sympathy in that sense, only because they kept backing off him. And if you're going to keep backing off Harry Kane, yes, maybe Kulusevski was in a bit better position, but if you're going to keep backing off Harry Kane and you let him shoot, more often than not, that shot is going to hit the target. He missed the target. If you're going to shoot in that position when you've got Kulusevski to the right of you, you better make sure you hit the target. But as well, from a Kane point of view, you're bearing down on goal. You're just outside the penalty area. You've scored from this position so many times. Like, you're going to back yourself if the defender keeps backing off. So I do kind of understand why he took the shot. It probably was a bit frustrating, but I don't think Conte was pointing at Kane, looking at those situations of Kane being selfish, and that's what he was calling out being. I mean, he might have been, but I think he was more talking about the players fighting as a team, the spirit of the team. I don't think he was talking about Kane in those situations not passing, although I do think he should have.
Yeah, I mean, I agree in terms of what he's talking about, selfish players, but I thought maybe there could be a small inkling of that creeping in there as well. But look, at the end of the day, very poor day all round for Tottenham Hotspur. We've let another lead slip, and we've dropped more points where the points look like they were just in the palm of our hands right here. And it's just another frustrating day all round. And now that's in the last 5 away games, we've lost 4, drawn 1, and the draw comes against a very poor Southampton side, bottom of the league. And
Yes.
and if we're going to
Albeit, to be fair, they have picked up points against Chelsea and United very recently.
yeah, they have.
But
Yeah.
no, but don't,
But when
no
you're
doubt
3-1
about
up
it.
with 15 minutes to
No,
go.
no, of course. I'm not saying we shouldn't have won. Of course we should have won. I'm just saying it like they have upped their game a bit more. Like they are bottom of the league because they've been bad all season, but recently they have upped their game a
As
bit.
Conte says, excuses, excuses, excuses.
It's not an excuse. I'm just saying it's not an excuse for why we
You're
drop
trying to
points.
find alibis.
Obviously, I'm absolutely fuming that they've let this game slip. I'm just saying this isn't the Southampton at the beginning of the season when they're losing every game. That's all I'm saying. But yeah,
Alibis. Anyway, that is our match review from the game yesterday. 3-3 against Southampton at St Mary's.